Well, hello again everyone and welcome back to the Tom Colohue channels, where today we are talking Monday Night Raw. This is essentially spoiler warning, but you may notice I've dropped some of the branding from it just for now, see how it plays out, and see how it goes, because it's less news focused and more preview focused. Less focused knowing that we're not going into a Raw watch party, but still focused enough that I'll be trying to answer any questions that you guys come out with. First of all, as always, I'd like to say a big thank you to everyone who's already joined and saying hi. The chat rate on the shows recently have been very, very good. We've been very, very busy. And of course, yesterday we did gain a whole 7 subscribers in one show, which is pretty incredible in 1 hour when you think about it. So huge thanks to everyone who has joined, who has chatted, who has said hello, and who has of course hit that little like and that little subscribe and that follow button on Twitch as well, where we gained 3 followers there recently as well. So good stuff to talk about. So let's talk. Starting with Sean at the top saying, "Hello Tom, it's good to see you again mate, and good to see you again. It is so nice seeing so many people recurring, as it were, popping back up and saying hi every single time, or even if it's just once a week, once a month, it's still wonderful to see so many of you. So thank you for your continued support." Dara is here saying, "Hey Tom." Hello Dara, how are you? Omega says, "Tom Colohue." Of course you do, as always. Ain't that the thing, mate? Ain't that the thing? Welcome everybody. Today we're going to be focusing mostly on Raw. We do have, as usual, a rumour roundup, a rumour look back from Cage Side Seats to Track, as well as a Raw preview, and we are going to be talking about plans for Becky Lynch and a bit more about the Rumble. The tweet that I just put out did mention the idea of Chris Jericho in the Royal Rumble, which we have discussed already, and which suddenly there's a little bit of momentum behind. I'll be trying to catch up with everyone, so please do keep chatting. Any questions you have, I will be trying to answer as we go as well. So, Moxie says, "Hello Tom, how's your day been?" It's been very good, thank you. I made noodles and it was lovely. It was absolutely lovely. Sometimes basic meals really do make a massive difference. I found out that I'm getting a £100 bonus for my job. I'm Employee of the Month this month, which is nice. I didn't even know they did one of those. And yeah, my manager put me forward just before I got the new job role as a way of saying goodbye, and I think that was lovely. So it's been a very, very good day. Thank you. How's yours been, Moxie? Buzzy says, "Hello, everyone." Eleanor is saying hi. Welcome, everyone. Wolf Gamer says, "Hello, all." Lovely to see so many of you. Ed says, "Sounds like someone needs to start Raw watch parties." Well, Ed, you want to take over? You go right ahead. I hear that you may have a channel soon. An Ed Fry's channel? Well, there's certainly a gap in the market for you, mate. Certainly a possibility right there that you may want to consider. Eleanor says, our first question, "Do you think Roman will be on Raw tonight to further the story with Rollins?" I hope so. I really do. Particularly with the competition that Raw is up against, Roman on Raw makes a lot of sense, and I expect it to happen in the build-up to the Royal Rumble, one way or the other. With the Royal Rumble on a Saturday this year, it's ever so slightly different, just ever so slightly different, which does need to be considered because they are trying to go hell for leather with the Royal Rumble this year, which of course means that we get Brock Lesnar, we get Seth Rollins against Roman Reigns, we get Bobby Lashley. They're trying to do whatever is necessary to make that happen and to make people watch, even though they've got some surprises queued up for the Royal Rumble, as we discussed last night. So when it comes to Roman Reigns, I think it's logical to have him on every show as much as you can, but I wouldn't want to exhaust the man when we don't have to. Hello, Bowden, mate. How you doing? Moxley says, "Tom, I think WWE teasing the end of the brand split by having Seth Rollins challenge Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble." So I will reiterate what I said on this yesterday. I believe Jeff Hardy was due to get this opportunity at the Royal Rumble. However, I do think Meltzer might be onto something by saying this is sort of a normalization. They needed opponents for Roman Reigns, so Seth Rollins makes sense and Kevin Owens makes sense to follow up, as well as a potential Saudi feud between Roman and Bobby Lashley. Ultimately, they don't have anyone else, so it's interesting that they're going heel versus heel with Roman standing alone, but against Seth Rollins. When it comes to the end of the brand split, there is definitely some tease happening as to a championship versus championship feud between Brock and Roman. I don't see it happening just yet, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to. Hey Rob, how you doing, mate? Great to see you. Sean says, do we think the women's triple threat main event's the show or the tag team title match? My hope is that the women's match will main event. It is provisionally down as the main event at the moment, but if they become essentially too scared of the competition that they're up against tonight, they may throw everything in the fire as quickly as possible and as early as they can. It's something they've done before and something they would definitely do again. Bowden said, I don't watch wrestling nowadays, but I was a big fan of the old wrestling. I love watching Stone Cold's Broken Skull podcast, and they talk about funny stories and stuff that happens in their career. It's very interesting hearing a lot of the background stuff. I learned a lot about The Undertaker from his appearance on Stone Cold's wrestling podcast. I also learned a lot about the business when Triple H and Vince McMahon were on that podcast. It's very educational, and that's a very good thing. John Wrestling, welcome, says, outcome of Alexa's video tonight. Will it make it more clear about what gimmick she is, or will it leave us with more questions? A bit of both. The intention is to let you know that she's coming, not necessarily what she's going to arrive as. They aren't intending to give the game away too much with her appearances or her vignettes, so don't expect to be in the clear, as it were, but I would expect to see bits from all the characters she has portrayed so far, and that includes her initial character. It may feel a little bit Firefly Funhouse. Wolfgamer says, I finally saw Spider-Man No Way Home on Saturday. Great film. Really, really enjoyed it. Highly recommend it to anyone who hasn't watched it yet. Okay, Ed, okay. My lips are sealed. My lips are sealed about Love Wrestling, the channel that you represent, the channel that's your channel. Rob says, congrats on the increase, Tom. It's always good to hear bits about your personal life. Thank you, May. I appreciate that. Things are going really well. I am looking at 2.5 promotions. 2.5 promotions by the end of this month is what I'm looking at, which would mean a significant increase in my overall pay. And I don't know, it feels like I've landed somewhere that actually gives a shit about me. I know. Strange to me too. I know. Hey Ghost, how you doing, man? Says, definitely missed you guys. Hey Greg, good evening to you as well. KJ, welcome to the show. Says, Seth beats Roman, right? It's not impossible, but I don't see it being that likely. Thank you very much for the follow, rough1__. You rough one and then you just leave it down there. Leave it right down there. Welcome to the show. This is an Ask Me Anything show. You are welcome to ask me anything, or if you'd prefer to lurk, you are welcome to do that too. Welcome to the show, mate. KJ says, what's up, Tom? Sasha Banks is a part of the competition. She is, isn't she? She very much is. It's almost like this is all very convenient. Sean says, is Bianca winning tonight? So let's jump into that while we have it. The planned main event, though, based on the competition, it could change, for tonight is the women's triple threat match. Liv Morgan, Bianca Belair, and Doudrop to decide who will take on Becky Lynch at the Royal Rumble. Becky Lynch is also apparently planning to respond to Charlotte Flair's announcement that she would be in the Royal Rumble. It is unlikely that Becky will be in the Royal Rumble as well. When it comes to tonight, logically, Bianca Belair picks up the win. Doudrop is a heel and Becky Lynch is a heel. I don't see them mixing it up in that direction, even though they're doing that with Roman. Liv Morgan has already had several opportunities recently against Becky. I don't see her getting a third big match against Becky. I see her being ushered sort of down the pecking order a little bit here. Logically, based on that, the only real option becomes Bianca Belair. And I'm confident that it is not going to be Bianca Belair at WrestleMania, so you might as well do it now. For me, Bianca Belair wins tonight, leading Becky Lynch to take on Bianca Belair and defeat her at the Royal Rumble. Likely a bit more clean than her previous attempts as well. Bianca Belair is another one who isn't expected to have a huge WrestleMania match, but is still expected to be in and around it in the fight, as it were. So this re-elevates her, as it were. Moxie says, WWE are definitely going for Reigns versus Brock winner-take-all at Mania. I disagree on that one. I don't think there's going to be a winner-take-all, but I am confident that Brock versus Roman will be the main event of WrestleMania for a third time. This year will be the third time. I'm going to briefly pause there just to do the reintroductions. Hi, everyone. I'm Tom Colohue, and I'm currently streaming on both Twitch and YouTube. I am a pro wrestling journalist. I cover wrestling when it comes to all aspects of it. I am talking PW Torch, I'm talking Sportskeeda, I'm talking Fansided. I have covered for all of those, and in fact my work has been published in the New York Post level sort of creation, The Sun over in the UK. I've been all over the damn place when it comes to my work being published. So, if you like what you're hearing here, if you'd like to ask a pro wrestling journalist questions about pro wrestling, hit subscribe. And if you are watching on YouTube, please do remember to hit that thumbs up. It can make a massive difference to my numbers. I do find, in my experience, I always have slightly more viewers than I do likes, so every thumbs up can make a difference. If you're watching on Twitch, please do consider hitting follow. It means you'll get a notification every single time we go live. We are currently aiming for 805 subscribers. Yesterday we were aiming for 800. We reached 802, which means we only need 3 more. 3 more in order to hit our target of 805. 2 more, I should correct myself, because we have added 1 more and we are currently sitting at 803. We are soaring, flying. There ain't a star in heaven that we can't reach, basically is what I'm trying to say. Continuing with the questions. Bowden said, Goldberg was a big fighter in my eyes. Listening to Bret Hart saying everyone hated fighting Goldberg and he was the worst athlete as he always hurt people is bad. Yeah, Goldberg seems to be a lot better now, but it's a shame it took this long. Moxie says, I swear Alexa is back today. The road to Alexa's return to Raw begins this week. We will see what actually happens. Vignettes have been recorded, but they've been known to change their minds before. I don't think we'll see Bliss on TV until at least a week before the Royal Rumble, if not just the Royal Rumble, though I'm sure we will see vignettes. They are trying to make her as big a deal as possible. There are plans for a big WrestleMania match for Alexa Bliss. Brock says Sasha Banks is in the opening of the National Championship game. When are people going to acknowledge her as the biggest female star in wrestling, not Becky and not Charlotte? When she becomes it, because at the moment Becky Lynch is still the biggest female star in wrestling. She just is. John Wrestling says, as a huge Bliss fan, I'm extremely nervous about this because I feel she's close to dying on the same hill The Fiend did when it comes to the supernatural stuff. A lot of that supernatural element will be dropped and changed. The Alexa Bliss character will be evolving closer to the goddess, but not all the way to the goddess. Vince McMahon was a big fan of the individual elements that evolve that character, and the horror elements as well. He does like it, he just rarely does it good. Alexa Bliss will not stay as the exact same character that she was, but she will be changing back towards the goddess without becoming it again. Oh, thank you, Bowden. I appreciate that. Thank you kindly. Bilsa says hello on YouTube. Hello, Bilsa. How you doing, mate? I do apologise for the dark parts on the end of my fingers. I'm ripping stuff. OCD. It's doing a number on me today, but I've got it under control. Cleric says, yo, I told friends about your show, Tom, and they loved it. Get new YouTube subs. Well, to be fair, we have had 8 in the past 24 hours, which is incredible. Thank you all of you who are sharing, who are helping, who are supporting by encouraging. I really do appreciate it. Rob says, if Bianca Belair loses, Tom, do you think she will still enter the Royal Rumble? I do, mostly because I think they just desperately need people. Bianca Belair is someone that they really can't afford to be pissing off right now, and I do feel she'll be in the Rumble, even despite losing the match. So I expect it will start with the Women's Championship match, then do one of the actual World Championship matches, probably Brock versus Bobby, then the Women's Royal Rumble, then Roman Reigns, then the Men's Royal Rumble is what I would expect. KJ is going a different direction, saying Liv pins Doudrop, I'm guessing. Now, that's certainly a possibility. Doudrop has been on the decline. I just don't personally see it. Sean says, who faces Becky at Mania for the title? My first choice is still Bayley and will continue to be Bayley going forwards. We'll see how that actually plays out, but I believe it will be Bayley. Outside of that, if she's not available, Alexa Bliss will be next in line, I'm sure. Sean says, according to Fightful, Shayna Baszler said she liked doing her storyline of Alexa because it showed a different side. I don't believe Fightful is a source there. I believe a friend of mine is actually the source on that one. Now, where can I find this? Right, for Metro. Let's have a look. Let's have a Google. Metro, Shayna Baszler. 3 hours ago, she exclusively told metro.co.uk. The source of that is not Fightful. It is a pro wrestling journalist called Alistair McGeorge. I do recommend anyone follow him if you can, because he does very good work, gets a lot of very good interview questions and answers, and, as you might expect, most of his work gets taken by bigger outlets. Alistair McGeorge. I'm going to post his Twitter in both sides. You guys know me. I just really hope that what we get going forwards is a recognition for the little guys who do the actual work. Alistair is one of those. Sean says Ringside News posted 10 minutes ago that Shinsuke Nakamura is out with an injury. That hasn't been reported by anyone else, and honestly, I would say they're probably guessing. That's just my take on that. Moxley says Tom who wins the men's rumble. Okay, I'm guessing that's meant to say the women's rumble, because he's saying my pick is Bayley, Shayna, or Naomi. My pick is Bayley at this point in time. Failing that, I definitely lean towards Naomi, but we'll see how that actually plays out. When it comes to the men's rumble, I would not look too far past Big E, but if you are going to look past Big E, look at AJ Styles. John Wrestling says, last Bliss question here before I move on. Ask as many questions as you want, mate. I very much appreciate it. With her and WWE teasing Bliss staying as Funhouse Bliss, I'm assuming that's to swerve us. There is going to be an evolution of the character, but in order to do that, you have to basically show who the character is. Hence why we will see the many faces of Alexa to start with as we show the evolution of her character. John says, odds Goldberg or Cena in the Rumble. The men's Rumble looks weak. Goldberg is very, very unlikely to be in the Royal Rumble. I just don't personally see that as being likely. He's only got one match left on his contract, and I don't think they would essentially ostensibly waste it for a Royal Rumble. Cena, not impossible. Depends on his current status for movies. If he's available, he'd be a good name to add. But let's use this as an opportunity to talk about the fact that over the last few days, particularly if you listen to my podcast on PW Torch, Nick and Tom's Intercontinental Adventure with Nick Barbatti, who many of you will know from this channel, we have been talking about the idea of Chris Jericho popping up in a Royal Rumble. Suddenly today, WrestleVotes is pointing out that the WWE are planning a big surprise, equal to, if not greater than, Mickie James in the men's Royal Rumble. I think WrestleVotes might be watching the shows that we do here. Because didn't we talk about that yesterday? A surprise equal to or bigger than Mickie James? Didn't we talk about that? Cleric says, I can't believe they're not going for Bianca Becky at Mania. Big moment for an almost year-long feud. Almost, yes, but by almost, of course, you're meaning so far 5 months. And it's not happened at all for the last month. It's certainly an opportunity and a possibility, but I think with Alexa Bliss returning, with Bayley potentially returning, they need a big moment in the spotlight, and this is a perfect way to do it. Moxie's just followed Alistair. Thank you, Moxie. Hopefully he gets a few surprises in his notifications with a load of people following him, because I feel he deserves it, and it would be really nice for that to happen. Sean says, is it true that Carmella is working injured? Not to my knowledge, but there are a number of different wrestlers who are actively doing so at the moment. Carmella isn't wrestling all that much, so I could definitely expect it. Rob says, Sasha Banks to star in ESPN opening segment for the 2022 College Football Playoff National Championship, for those not aware. Indeed. And Rob says, Sasha Banks being out of the Rumble sucks. A lot of people are hoping she pulls a Cena 08. It's certainly not impossible, but it would be taking a risk. We'll see if they desperately need the numbers, because let's be fair, They desperately need the numbers. Thank you very much, Jay Quick, for the host. Welcome to the show. Hope you're well, mate. Hope you're well. Sean says, hi, WrestleVotes, if you're watching. Hi. Rob says, oh yeah, speaking of the Mickie James news, do you think the Forbidden Door is cracking open slowly, or is it just a one-off? With Mickie James, it is just a one-off. However, expect more people to make appearances. I would not be expecting many of the big companies. I wouldn't be expecting Jay White. I wouldn't be expecting much in the way of AEW, apart from certain select names like Chris Jericho and maybe Jon Moxley. But the Forbidden Door is a piece of branding that AEW used. Don't be surprised if you never hear WWE talk about it. Kuro, welcome. Says apparently Boogs revealed that Shinsuke was out of injury on a podcast, specifically the Out of Character podcast. ITR Wrestling is also reporting it. Thank you, Kuro. I appreciate that clarification. I'm always really glad to have people fact checking as we go through, and it's always very much appreciated. Thank you. Also, welcome to the show, mate. Omega is hoping for Nixon Newell. It's not impossible. A few people have been reached out to while they are serving their non-compete clauses, and why the hell not? Why the hell not? Moxley says, Tom, I think Alexa will be like Damian Priest, where if you piss her off, she will turn into the Fiend gimmick. That's not an impossibility. I like that as a concept. I would hope they can do something like that. It's just not a guarantee, unfortunately, they'd be able to pull it off. Because it's WWE, and sometimes they can't pull it off. John Wrestling says, which of these have a better chance of being in the Women's Rumble? Ronda, Sasha, Paige, or Stephanie? At the moment, I would go with Sasha, then Stephanie, then Ronda Rousey, then Paige. Paige being the most surprising if it happens. Rob says, Jericho or Mox wouldn't shock me. Also could see Matt Cardona doing a one-off. That guy's burnt a lot of bridges with the WWE. Just a lot of bridges, which makes him one of the most likely, yes. James Joe, welcome. Says, what Bayley do we get if she returns? Hoping for a heel. Unfortunately, when it comes to Bayley, I don't think she has a choice. I very much believe the most likely situation is that Bayley walks out and the fans go, yes! And lose their collective shit. And you know what? I am thrilled by that concept. Give it to me. Make it happen. Which is one of the many reasons I think Bayley will be lining up against Becky for WrestleMania. Jay says, no matter what happens, Becky's getting a main event at WrestleMania and Roman is getting one. Yes, there's no way in which we can say no matter what happens, because it's WWE and Vince McMahon changes things on the day. Last I heard, the plans for the main event were night 1 would be a Becky main event, night 2 as the main event would be Roman Reigns. That is the last I had on it, and that is the most likely scenario. Moxie says, Tom, did you see the Bella Twins are in the Rumble? I did, and I'm excited to see what they can deliver. It's been a little while since they've been in the ring, and certainly it would be a very good way to reintroduce Bayley to get some revenge on the Bellas from last year's WrestleMania. La Hockman, welcome. Says, do you think that Alexa Bliss will be a babyface or a heel when she comes back? She was a babyface when she left, and I think it very much depends who she's going to be going up against. If Bayley doesn't return at the Royal Rumble, my expectation then would be that Becky would be facing Alexa, in which case Alexa would be a face. However, if Bayley does return, my expectation then is that Alexa will be taking on maybe Bianca Belair, at which point Alexa will be a heel. She can fit whatever bill they require, essentially. We've just had a bit of a rush joining us on YouTube and on Twitch, so let's run down our card again. I am Tom Colohue, pro wrestling journalist working for PW Torch and a number of others over the years. You are on my independent channels live for Ask Me Anything, talk about wrestling. Today we're talking quite a lot about Becky Lynch, we're talking Royal Rumble and all of the above. We are currently aiming to hit 805 subscribers. We are sitting right now at 803. So if you can jump in and hit that subscribe button, please consider doing so. And if you haven't yet, hit the notification bell as well. Every like on YouTube as well guarantees us more viewership, so please consider hitting that thumbs up. If you're watching on Twitch, please do remember that you can hit follow. Everybody who hits follow, you'll get a notification every single time we go live, and you can ask your questions just as easily there, so thank you. Continuing with the questions, Alex Gonzalez, welcome, says, why Charlotte doesn't face Naomi or somebody at the Royal Rumble? Because they're out of people. They don't have enough women to fill the Royal Rumble, so Charlotte and Naomi have to both be in there. Jay Quick says, I'm back after a few weeks as I made funeral arrangements for my mum. Sorry if I brought the stream down. You're not bringing the stream down, mate. I'm hoping you're okay. If you need anything, you know where we are, mate, alright? Wolf Gamer says, man, could you imagine if Jay White actually showed up at the Rumble? That'd be really awesome. Yes, it would. It absolutely would. And I would love it so much. For those who don't know, I'm a massive Jay White mark. I breathe with the switchblade. What can I say? I'm there for the knife pervert. What can I say? And I would love to see him in a Royal Rumble. Wiggly, welcome, man. Hector says, happy Monday, Tom. Do you think Vince warmed up to the idea of bringing in the Forbidden Door wrestlers, or was this Nick Khan's idea? This originally started because of Daniel Bryan, and negotiations ended in some directions. For example, New Japan, but didn't end everywhere. Impact have been trying to make this happen for a while. They just want additional exposure, and the WWE offer a lot more exposure than AEW do. Rob says, lastly about Sasha, ask whatever questions you want, Rob, you go nuts. Do you think she will still be facing Charlotte at WrestleMania or be involved in the title match in any case? I do still believe that we are going to see Charlotte Flair losing the SmackDown Women's Championship to Sasha Banks at this year's WrestleMania. That is what I believe we are going to see. John, I have answered that about Alexa face or heel, and I do believe it will be based on who she takes on at WrestleMania. Moxley says, can you believe Samoa Joe got released twice in the span of 11 months? Yep. Yes, I can. The second NXT and Triple H brought him back, his position was in jeopardy. The WWE wanted him gone. They were going to come back for him, especially when he wasn't cleared to wrestle. That's a shame, Brock. I hope one day you find out that you can actually enjoy the work of multiple people. Until then, sorry, man. Sean says, Moxley in the Rumble. Would he come back to WWE? Maybe Malachi or Buddy Matthews in the Rumble. The WWE are only interested in certain big names when it comes to, for example, AEW. The Mickie James thing is mostly a way of saying, hey, she was really pissed off. Now she's not. You should come work for us. And basically making themselves out as the good guys. Which has been successful. Which is one of the many reasons why they would be looking for Chris Jericho or John Moxley rather than, for example, a Malachi Black. Kuro says it's still being verified by other wrestling news people before they report Shinsuke is injured because it's entirely possible Boogs was talking about a worked injury. Yes, but is it actually being verified? Here's a question I have when it comes to pro wrestling journalism. How often do you read a report and they include a quote and say, this has been reported, but they haven't independently verified it? How many times do you see an outlet report something that is later proven incorrect and they just ignore it? They don't retract it. They don't say, oh, we didn't verify it. They don't even stand by it. That's wrestling news, unfortunately. Rob says, Bayley coming out will go down as one of the moments of the year and exactly the legacy moment WWE strives to have. If they can make this happen, and they are so close. So close. If they can make this happen, I personally would be thrilled. Thrilled. Hey Steve, how you doing, man? Says, what's up, Tom? Hope you're doing well, buddy. Anyone who hasn't yet subscribed to Steve's wrestling channel, SCW, please do consider it. I'll be popping up there shortly. And I've popped up there a few times in the past, so you guys may enjoy checking that out. And of course, you may very much enjoy checking out Steve's work as well. Very talented man, very creative man, very, very clear thinker as well. Moxley says, Tom, what if Bayley gets eliminated from the Rumble? Because last year Daniel Bryan was a favourite to win the Rumble, but he didn't. Was Daniel Bryan the favourite last year? Was he? Not sure he was. That said, I'm not sure Edge was. It's a fair point. It's a fair point. The betting favourite on the day tends to be the winner. I believe that's been the case for the last 18 years. So I'll certainly be keeping my ear to the ground. But I wouldn't want to see that. Oh, thank you, KJ. I appreciate that. KJ has a second YouTube channel, so is also subscribed there. Ultimately, when it comes to subscriber numbers, we're doing very well at watch time. We're currently on about 3,100 hours, which is very, very good. It means I only need to get about 900 more. So we're about in pace with the subscriber numbers. Ultimately, right now, I'm chasing those subscribers first and foremost. After that, I'll start chasing watch time. But for now, I'm focused on the subscriber numbers. So if you haven't yet clicked subscribe, please do consider doing so. It means you'll get a notification every time I go live on YouTube, especially if you press that bell, and it means you'll get access to a lot of very, very good content. If I do say so myself. Jay Quick says, could Moose enter the Rumble? Yes. Yes, he could. Alex Gonzalez says, the only main event for Becky, everybody knows, is Ronda Rousey. Nobody's a big enough name to main event against Becky. Becky is the name, Alex. Becky is the name that is worthy of the main event, as it were. A lot of people last year were saying Bianca Belair might not be big enough for Sasha Banks, and yet here we are. Sasha Banks was the name. Yes, we are still getting that, Brock. Jay says, did WWE ask Becky and Roman who they want to face? Because it seems like Becky wants to face Doudrop. They do, but not when it comes to the big events. When it comes to the road to WrestleMania, the plan is laid out. But for example, Cesaro was someone that Roman wanted to work with, as an example. Rey Mysterio was someone that Roman wanted to work with, as an example. And there's a number of others that are involved in that are just making that happen. Big name champions in the B-list pay-per-views do get to choose their opponents. Becky chose Liv Morgan, for example. Doudrop's a maybe, but they do tend to poo-poo that idea as it's heel versus heel. But we'll see how it plays out. Justin Stevens, welcome, mate. How you doing? Says you probably don't know this, but I'll ask anyway. Will Alexa talk normal? Because I miss her cutting those fantastic promos instead of talking like an 8-year-old. The plan is to tone down those elements of the character that she was before she left. We will see an element of them in the vignettes for sure, just as we reintroduce that character in order to make that change. She is heading back towards the goddess without becoming the goddess again. Thank you, KJ. 804. We are looking for just one more subscription in order to reach our target today of 805. That would mean 10 new subs in the last 2 days, and it would be a wonderful thing. 804 is where we are currently, and 15 likes. So if you can hit that like button, please consider it. Moxie says, Tom, John Moxley would kill Seth Rollins, but not Roman Reigns in a wrestling match. What I like when it comes to the Shield is the rock, paper, scissors. Roman would always beat Dean Ambrose. Seth would always beat Roman. Dean Ambrose would always beat Seth. There was always a rock, paper, scissors, and it was very, very fun. The only exception was on the Shield triple threat, when Roman took the pin from Dean Ambrose. Rob says, interesting indeed. Do you think Jay White would be more WWE likely than AEW if he were to decide to leave New Japan? I don't think so, on the basis that there are many quotes out there already about Jay White, where while he has many friends in WWE who would like to see him there, he himself not that fussed. He's very happy in New Japan. Ghost says, do you think there's any chance that Jeff Hardy could be in the Rumble? He's been pretty quiet regarding his release, so I doubt that a bridge has been burned. A bridge has not been burned verbally, but to my knowledge, and certainly there's been no evidence, I don't think he was under the influence of anything. There's no evidence that Jeff Hardy was under the influence of anything when he was apparently told, go to rehab or get fired. I would refuse to go to rehab in that circumstance as well, so I would be pissed off with the WWE. That said, so was Mickie James, and now here we are. Funny how things change. Jay says, did WWE ever talk about doing a 4 Horsewomen main event? A lot of people want it, including myself. It's been mentioned a number of times, but with the way that they've split the brands, they are trying to keep people on separate brands and split up the Horsewomen, because the Horsewomen are still the strongest draws in the women's division. Outside of Ronda Rousey, they are all the strongest draws ahead of literally everyone else. So they don't want to put them all on one brand. That said, not impossible. Not impossible. Steve says, do you think Braun Strowman could be an option to bring back for the Royal Rumble? I do. Braun Strowman has been open about the fact that he would happily return to the WWE, and the WWE have themselves discussed it with him on a number of occasions. There's been a lot of people who have been released, who have been reached out to just to fill up numbers. I don't think Braun Strowman is likely, however I wouldn't bet my house on it. Indeed, Kuro says, hence my quotations about verified as regards the wrestling at journalism outlets, because no one truly verifies, sadly. Indeed. Indeed. Hector, welcome. Says, what does Mickie really have to gain by competing in the Rumble? She could easily say no due to all the WWE put her through. I'd imagine it's a huge payday. Mickie doesn't herself gain all that much. Impact does. Impact gains a lot. And I think that's something that's very much worth pointing out. Impact will be the one that benefits the most from this. Not Mickie James, not anything like that. Very much Impact are the ones who benefit in this instance. A quick thank you to... Hang on. Done it wrong. A big thank you to the 3 people who've quote tweeted my announcement tweet about spoiler warning today. We have Nicholas, we have Sean. Thank you very much, guys. I'm going to start doing some retweets there just to see if we can't bring a few more names in as we continue to chase that 805. Bailey says, good turnout between the 2 channels. Welcome, Bailey, and thank you. Over 45 for the first spoiler warning of the year. Indeed. Things are going remarkably well when it comes to these shows. And what I like is that I don't have to be chasing right now. I made an okay amount of money from Twitch last year. I'll be able to do that and more because I will be monetizing YouTube this year. I'm confident of that. And that's on top of the fact that I have a day job where I'm set up for 2.5 promotions. And I got a £100 bonus today for being Employee of the Month. So when I first started on Twitch, when I first started on YouTube, I got to be honest, I was a bit desperate. And I'm sure it came across in the actual programming. Now I can be a lot more chill, I can be a lot more relaxed, I can have a bit more fun, and people are still here for it. 45 people is incredible, considering I've only been doing this a year. I'm not a big name by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just a guy talking wrestling and having fun. So thanks, everyone. You've made this a reality, and I'm very grateful for it. Rob says Rollins was favourite last year, I believe, betting-wise. That would make sense considering the people he would have been lining up against if he were to pick up the win. Wolf Gamer says, I'd love to see Jay White show up, hit Rollins with a Blade Runner, eliminate him, and then say something along the lines of, you'll never be as good as me. You all know my thoughts on that one. They are powerful thoughts. I'm a huge Seth Rollins fan. Jay White does it better. KJ says Bryan wasn't a favourite. People wanted him to win a main event since he said he was going to become a part-timer. Obviously, he's still full-time. He's full-time at the moment. He is limited date, to my knowledge. Manny disagrees, says Bryan was a favourite. I'll have to look back over this. In fact, no, Rob's is way ahead here. They note Bryan was on January 28th, 2021, plus 110. Edge at plus 250, Keith Lee at 700, etc, etc. Wow. Nicely done, Robs. Appreciate the research there. I always do appreciate that. Hello, Get the Table says, right now, who are the 3 people you could see being the Forbidden Door entrant in the Rumble? Well, earlier today I did post a gif of Chris Jericho. I definitely think Chris Jericho could be one of them. Jon Moxley is another one that I've mentioned as being a huge possibility, but it depends on his individual circumstances. Outside of that, yeah, I'm still talking Jay White. Because if there's an opportunity for Jay White, please God make it happen. And please God let him win. That would ruin the Royal Rumble for me. I wouldn't be able to concentrate on the Royal Rumble after Jay White has been involved. I just wouldn't. Sean says Tegan was someone Becky wanted to work with as well, and that's still very much the case. Unfortunately, that opportunity will not come yet. We never can tell. Moxley says the Royal Rumble is the best show of the year, hands down. I do agree. It certainly holds a special place in my heart, and we will be doing a whole damn watch party for the Royal Rumble, which I'm very, very excited for. We'll be dual streaming it. We'll be chasing whatever subscription number we're chasing at that time. Maybe chasing 850. Who knows? Depends how we go. But my God, am I going to have fun for the Royal Rumble, I tell you that. My God, are we going to have fun for the Royal Rumble. We'll come up with some games. We'll do some drinking. We'll just have fun. Just have fun. Steve says, always very kind, my man, thank you. Highly recommend those who are not subscribed to Tom to do so, proven with his inside knowledge and a top guy as well. Thank you, Steve. You have personally been responsible for several subscribers joining us here, and I do very much appreciate it. Hopefully I can pay you back at some point by helping to support your channel however I can, and I'll continue to do so. Alex says, can you see Sasha Banks maybe returning for the Royal Rumble? Yes, I can. I don't think it's definitive. I don't think it's definite in any way, shape or form. But I definitely think she could heal in time to make a Royal Rumble appearance. She is being monitored with a view to that maybe happening. Moxie says, Tom, what about Roman, Seth and Jon Moxley now? That would be amazing. It would. The Shield would be very different with the current incarnations than it was previously. Moxie says, Tom, do you think Bobby is beating Brock at Mania? No, I do not. I would like him to. I would very much like him to. But no, I do not. Rob says, yeah, that's what I got from Jay's interview with Chris Van Vliet. He seemed very passionate about remaining in New Japan for now. The guy genuinely loves it there, and I can't blame him. Everyone who works for New Japan seems to love it. Alex says, WWE gets somebody from Monday Night Raw like Seth Rollins. What is the point of the WWE draft? This was just to make up for the fact that Jeff Hardy wasn't available to fill that spot. And of course, we don't have Drew McIntyre at the moment. Unfortunately, WWE are missing some names and they've got to make up for it however they can. R.I.P. Bob Saget indeed, Kuro. Thank you. Alex says, if AJ Lee returns for the Royal Rumble, everyone's going to jump. Everyone will jump. And then they'll chant CM Punk. CM Punk. CM Punk. CM Punk. CM Punk. And then AJ Lee will never come back again. Because how disrespectful is that to do that? And they will. They will. Moxie says, Tom, when I was watching SmackDown when Roman made his entrance without Paul, it didn't feel right, and then his entrance was faster than normal. Roman Reigns stood alone. He very much stood alone. And it was cool. Omega says, just started with Facebook. I'm not sure what you're meaning there, Omega. Are you suggesting that I should start a Facebook and start streaming there? It's not impossible. We'll see how it goes. Facebook doesn't pay. YouTube pays. And if you get big enough on YouTube, you get offers from Facebook. So Bailey says, when is the split between Rhea and Nikki going to take place? I would imagine they are going to continue teasing it at the Royal Rumble, and it will be further teased in the WrestleMania Battle Royal, and then they will do the split on the Raw after WrestleMania, and we'll head towards Rhea Ripley versus whoever is the champ at the time. Jay says, besides Becky, Roman, Seth, Charlotte, Sasha, Bianca and Big E, did WWE consider anybody else to be a big name? Yes, you haven't mentioned Bayley there. You haven't mentioned Bobby Lashley or Drew McIntyre. Kevin Owens, Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley, all considered to be much bigger names than Big E at this point. Rob says, only wish I found you sooner, but I'm along for the ride from here on out. Let's go. Thank you, Rob. Appreciate that. It's always nice to hear people say things like that. There are a lot of very complimentary people here, and it's a balm to the soul. Hector says, here's a question. If Mox participates, would Vince allow him to come out to Wild Thing as Mox, or would he be Dean Ambrose? He would 100% be Jon Moxley. He would refuse to participate if he had to be Dean Ambrose. I also believe that Mickie James might be campaigning for Hardcore Country, which I'd be very happy about. James Stewart says, do you think long-term wrestlers may sign with a company for short-term contracts to do a run or storyline? Can't see something WWE would entertain, but who knows what's in the future. That has happened on occasion for AEW, but we'll see how it actually pays off. Think, for example, Jeff Cobb. It has happened. Same with Jay White at Impact. If it pops the rating, it'll happen, but the giant that is WWE has no benefit from it. Captain Buzzy says, as nice as the surprise entrants are, it really intrigues to see some oddball entrants in there. Like this year, Johnny Knoxville from Jackass is going to be in it this year. Yeah, that's a weird one. That is a weird one. And I'm excited for it. I don't know how it's going to play out, but I want to see. I just want to see. KJ says, if WWE wants them, Mox could simply say, call me Jon Moxley, let me use Wild Thing, or else I'm out. Pretty much exactly what I would expect, yeah. Exactly what I would expect. It is more beneficial for Impact than it is for WWE, I tell you that. Moxie is suggesting we should do a stream before the kickoff show and host online games. Maybe. We'll see. I am, for anyone who doesn't know, planning to start a gaming YouTube soon, but we'll still be dual streaming the gaming YouTube on Twitch as well. Twitch is just going to be the home of everything, basically. Kuro says, as a wrestling fan, part of me wants to flip chanting CM Punk on its head. And whenever we see Punk chant for his wife instead, the other part of me knows that wouldn't ever happen realistically. I would ever realistically happen. I would love that. That would be fantastic. I hope one day that happens. You're right, it will never. Alex says, I'm still waiting for a Becky versus Rhea Ripley match. It will come. It will come. Becky's hyped for it. Sean says, if Nikki and Rhea split, will that be the final nail in the coffin for Nikki? Not necessarily, as I believe Nikki Cross will be the heel. But we'll have to wait and see, because ultimately that did sort of put the end in focus for Mojo Rawley. Your hero and mine, Mojo Rawley. Dara says, I think the Rumble will be good. Me too, to be honest. The Royal Rumble is one of those. It rarely disappoints. I get more excited for the Royal Rumble than I do for WrestleMania. Oh, I'm hyped already. Jay says, how do you feel about everyone's characters? Only person I think who needs to make a change is Nikki, because some people don't care for it anymore. I think when it comes to character changes, I'd like to see T-Bar change. T-Bar and Mace change. I'd like that. And I'd also like to see Ali just get a whole load of more opportunities. Just all the opportunities, basically. All of them. Michael says, who knew the Jackass movies were still a thing? They're all old now. They're all old. If you get hurt the way you used to, you are just going to have your hip pop out. To be fair, it surprised me your hip hasn't already popped out because of the amount of damage you used to put yourself through. Ooh, thank you very much, Vera and Jared. Hector. For the quote tweets over on Twitter as well. I very much appreciate it. Thank you kindly. Let's see if we have hit our goal as of yet. We are nearly at the end of the show. Because if there's no more questions, I will be wrapping up. We are at 805 subscribers. Guys, you made it happen. You made it happen. And I am so grateful. So grateful. We're at 805. 805. 10 over 2 days. I'm thrilled. So thrilled. We have some more questions in. Let's do it. Sean says, I'd like to see T-Bar go back to Dijakovic. Me too. I think there's meat in those bones. I just don't think they're using it. Rob says, is there any breadcrumbs to a Ronda appearance? Yes, there are. There's definitely some interest in making that happen. Essentially, the decision is down to Ronda Rousey herself at this point. Moxie says, Tom, just 2 weeks and 6 days till the Rumble, and I cannot wait. Cannot wait. Alex says, Raw Women's Championship Fatal 4-Way at the Royal Rumble? No chance. They need the women. I do believe Bianca Belair will be picking up the win, leading to Becky versus Bianca at the Royal Rumble. Bianca will lose and then go into the Royal Rumble match itself. I also believe that will leave Doudrop and Liv Morgan available for the Rumble. KJ says, Tom, who do you think wins the Rumble really? At first I thought Brock, and then I said Bobby, and then I said Seth. And will it be Big E? I think there is a lot of meat on the bones of the Big E win. A lot of concept behind that. I think there's a lot leading us to believe that. The betting makes me think AJ Styles is in with a good chance here. And we could see, for example, Bobby Lashley versus AJ Styles. Or Brock Lesnar versus AJ Styles again. That was a hell of a match and one I'd love to see. One more time. When it comes to the women, I'm crossing my fingers for Bayley. Still hoping. Steve asks, what's your least favourite Royal Rumble ever? The one won by Alberto Del Rio, because fuck that guy. Kuro says, also it's 40 man. Kuro says, how quick and how fast do we see Knoxville enter and get eliminated? And who do we see him maybe try to feud with? I don't see a feud, but I do see him being eliminated relatively quickly. I think he'll be one of those who comes in when everyone's been eliminated, walks around a little bit, does a little hop, and then a big name comes out and he's like, you know what? No. No. Oh, Randy Orton would be perfect for that. Or Braun Strowman, if he was there. Or Samoa Joe, if he was there. Braun Breaker. As regards 8:05, Dara says, let's go. KJ says 8:05 and Dara says 8:05? Is that the new AEW time? Dynamite starts at 8:05. Oh, I remember that ad. Good times. Bailey says, will there be any NXT event concurrent with WrestleMania weekend? There is a plan for an AEW... No, again, I got that wrong. For an NXT event in and around WrestleMania time. I can't say for certain that it's going to happen, but they are planning it at the moment. Most of the focus of the WWE right now is on getting the Saudi Arabia show off the ground, which is coming next month. Can confirm it was always planned for next month. Sean says, RK Bro lose tonight and split? Oh, not yet. Not yet. I don't see any chance for RK Bro to lose the championships just yet. I believe they will be losing them at WrestleMania to Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens. That's what I personally think is most likely. And then after WrestleMania, we will start to see the breakup. Alex says, I know everybody doesn't like her, but Tessa versus Charlotte in the future. Charlotte wants to make it happen and Tessa wants to make it happen. The WWE don't, but Charlotte and Tessa do. Tessa Blanchard is recognised as one of the 4 Horsewomen by Charlotte Flair. There were 4 horsemen at times. It's a thing. KJ says, is there any returns that could show up at the Rumble and sign a contract like Edge, MVP? Possible, not impossible. It depends who's involved. I think, for example, if Trish Stratus is involved in the Royal Rumble, as is intended, she may decide to stick around. Sean says, if AJ won the Rumble, I bet Grayson Waller would hate it. WrestleMania all the way, I tell you. Steve says, odd idea. What if we get a double pin tonight? Liv and Bianca get the fall over Doudrop to make it a triple threat. They need the women, though. They need as many women as possible in the Royal Rumble. But we'll see. They could still be involved in the Rumble, of course. KJ says, speaking Del Rio, why does he swear he's coming back? Well, here's the thing. And this is really clever. This is what happens with Alberto Del Rio. He goes somewhere and says, I'm coming back to wrestling. Then he goes to the wrestling company and says, do you see how excited people are to see me return to wrestling? Because all the fucking wrestling outlets cover it. They don't cover it here when I say the night before SummerSlam, Becky Lynch is coming back for SummerSlam, but they report Alberto Del Rio saying, yeah, everyone's interested in me. Fucking morons. Thank you, Steve. Oh. Swede does not like Doudrop. I mean, you're mostly entitled to your opinion. I think Piper Niven is very talented, but we have not seen much good from Doudrop so far. KJ says Garza showed him some love. I forgot what he said, but wanted him to come back basically on Twitter. Yep, and you guarantee Del Rio was sending that to WWE executives. Look, even you guys want me back. They don't. KJ says Randy Orton will get a big Rumble pop as it's his hometown. He always gets a big Rumble pop, and he always RKOs so many people. I'm so used to saying RK Bro that I nearly said it then. Wow. Jay says, is the main match WWE want to see Becky versus Bayley or Becky versus Alexa? They want Becky versus Bayley, but it depends if Bayley can return. Goldberg will not win the Rumble Weekly. I appreciate that you throw these jabs every now and then. It gives me something to react to with horror. Alex says if the plan is Becky versus Bianca Royal Rumble, Bianca cannot lose again. Bianca has no more momentum right now. Neither does Liv Morgan if she loses again. It's gotta happen. Noob says, hello Tom. Welcome Noob, how you doing? Kuro says, remembering that the Rumble is on a Saturday is confusing. It is. It is baffling. Genuinely baffling. I'm really excited. Really very excited. So he asks, will Nia Jax come back? I don't think so. She may not come back to wrestling at all. She hates the fans. Mostly because the fans hate her as well. Michael says, I miss Bayley and want her back badly. That is all. She's coming back. If she's not back at the Royal Rumble, I expect her to be back in the Battle Royal at WrestleMania. But she's coming back soon. KJ says, WWE ever doing an Evolution pay-per-view again, especially with all their star power? They've been talking about it for a long time. They just haven't actually made it happen. They need to hurry up on it. Steve says, I have a feeling we will see all 3 ladies in the Rumble, whoever wins this evening on Raw, to face Becky, which is a fair shout. Becky Lynch may well step into the Rumble late on, and I just think that could be fun. Steve also says, we need the name change back to Piper Niven. And I completely agree. Completely agree. Wolfgamer says Del Rio can take a flying fucking leap. Not sorry. Fair enough, Wolfgamer. You are entitled to your opinion, especially if it's one that I agree with. Justin Stevens says, so Alexa will be closer to the goddess in the Funhouse, correct? I can't say that for certain. There will be a meld of the characters. There is no closer than. There will be an evolution to the character. We're going to be seeing it over the next few weeks. It's coming. James Stewart says, any NXT UK and either Rumble. Nothing planned as of yet, but I do expect we're going to see some women from NXT UK in the Royal Rumble. Just one or two. Probably the top ones. Meiko Satomura, for example. Wiggly says, when do you think we will know about this UK WWE pay-per-view? I think May time, or it'll be announced at WrestleMania, but just for UK audiences. Either way, closer to WrestleMania than now. Rob says, Alicia Fox seems like a possibility. It's not an impossibility, that's a fair comment. I just don't see her winning anything, unfortunately. Why would you come back if you're not going to do anything? Wiggly says, Saturday premium live events are great. And you know what? They are. They genuinely are. It's not often I have to tip my hat to the WWE, but they got that one right. They did. Steve says, with the next Saudi show in February, will it be Super Showdown, Fastlane, or Elimination Chamber? I hope it's not the last one. I really hope it's not the last one. Super Showdown is the most likely name at the moment. God, if they put Elimination Chamber in Saudi Arabia. Hector says, if WWE needs people for the Rumble, would it be a bad idea to add Bron Breakker, or is it too soon for him? There are already people in the creative team pitching Bron Breakker to not only be in the Rumble, but to win the Rumble. Yeah. Dara says, what about WWE does Evolution, but with Impact Wrestling stars involved? They do have enough women to fill a 3-hour pay-per-view. They do. They just don't want to do it. Kura says, am I allowed to call it a pay-per-view? Or do I have to use a corny WWE term, premium live event? Isn't the phrase pay-per-view pretty corny as well? But we've just gotten used to it. Premium live event is a bit more accurate. Sean says, Alexa Bliss, Moose, Doudrop and Mickie James are trending right now. They are, and I believe if I pop over to my other side, so's Chris Jericho. Nothing to do with the GIF I posted. Definitely not. Honest. Alex says, no plan for Asuka this year. Asuka is likely to return at the Royal Rumble or just afterwards. There are plans, but not very exciting ones. Bailey says, credit to the WWE for deferring the bad press about the recent cuts with this Impact discussion. They have, haven't they? They've very neatly sidestepped all of the angry people at the latest round of releases and said, yeah, but Mickie James still likes us. Sweet says, why did they drop the Piper Niven name anyway? You've got me. It's a terrible, terrible decision that they made. Jay says, is Becky on commentary tonight or just watching in the back? From what I can tell, there's going to be a promo segment with Becky Lynch. After that, she's likely to be in the back. We'll wait and see on that one. Sean says, I thought Alicia said she retired. I can't remember that, but other people have said they've retired too and come back out of retirement, including many people in this Royal Rumble. Alex says, Becky versus Bayley needs to happen. They've never feuded on the main roster. One of many reasons I think Bayley is a shoo-in to win the Rumble. Dara says, Dana Brooke might lose the 24/7 title in the Women's Rumble. She might. That's a fairly astute observation and a very accurate one. Wiggly says, I think Michelle McCool returning as a big hint taker is going to the Hall of Fame. Read recently was pushing for Michelle to get more recognition for her work. I believe she's been in several Women's Royal Rumbles so far, so it's not that big a surprise. I don't think it alludes too much, though I do think Undertaker is going in. Justin Stevens says, Alexa Bliss pulling a Foley, entering as a goddess, Funhouse, and a new gimmick. Obviously joking. Yeah, but they are very low on women. Robert is suggesting Kairi Sane. Could be fun. Why not? And KJ says, Bron Breakker to eliminate Omos. That would be fun. Because Omos is the only big guy left, really. Certainly the only one left to be in the Rumble. Omega agrees that pay-per-view is pretty corny. Steve says, did you get a chance to see Hard to Kill? If so, what were your thoughts of the show? I do watch some Impact pay-per-views, but not enough of them. I've seen clips of Hard to Kill. Impact produce a very good wrestling show. High-quality wrestling. But I just struggle to be that interested in the characters. Wiggly says, the pay-per-view concept for WWE is kind of winding down with the network. It's been winding down for a long time, but Peacock has killed it. Jay says if we get Bayley and Becky at WrestleMania or Alexa, that's who Becky drops the title to. Yeah, I do believe Becky Lynch will not walk out of WrestleMania with the Women's Championship. KJ says, could premium live event be a Peacock idea? Also, is WWE's pay-per-view really pay-per-view? You don't pay-per-view. You get it? It could be a Peacock idea. I don't think it is. I think they're just trying to move away from the pay-per-view model. Woody Swain, welcome to the show, says, will Lacey Evans be in the Rumble? Likely, yes. She is cleared for action. It's basically up to her whether she wants to be. The WWE have reached out to Lacey Evans to check whether she is ready to be in the Royal Rumble. Larry, welcome, says, I think WWE mentioned Impact's more on Friday than AEW did during the whole Kenny Omega Impact title run. Maybe. Mickie James appearing in the Royal Rumble does a lot more for Impact than it does for the WWE, and maybe a lot more than AEW managed to achieve. Alex is hoping for new Raw Tag Team Champions tonight. I don't see it personally, but it would be nice to see Alpha Academy get a chance here. Dara quoting, how will anyone eliminate a Moss? Yeah, weird, isn't it? I never hear that. Lahogman says, does Nikki Ash turn heel soon? Yes. Rob says, the General would be very welcome addition on the men's side of the Rumble. The General? Do you mean Commander Aziz? Not a General. I'm not aware of the General. Is that an Impact wrestler? Not a name I know. Alex says, why the WWE don't have the 24/7 title main event night one? Well, maybe it will, because you never can tell what's going to happen anymore. Justin says, who is Iron Woman this year? I'm going to say Charlotte. I'm going to completely agree. Iron Woman and Ring General, Charlotte Flair fits the bill for me. KJ says that's because AEW just used them. Now, to be clear, this is KJ's opinion. I will read it happily out. They took their titles and took their tag champs, never mentioned them. Kenny barely wore the Impact titles. Nakazawa did. Also, they never sent any big names to Impact other than Kenny. And that's largely true. Impact did not really benefit from working with AEW. Sean is saying Christian is a possibility for the men's Rumble. There was a burnt bridge there. Maybe. Not impossible. Steve says what you would consider to be an underrated Premier Live event that people should watch on the WWE Network or Peacock that people wouldn't think of. I have always really liked Judgment Day 2000 with the Iron Man match between Triple H and The Rock. Just absolutely loved it. Had a great time. Oh, the Ring General. Oh, thank you, Robs. Ring General will be damn good in that. Not aware of the commercials there, Dara. Steve has gone with Fully Loaded 2000. I believe that was Jericho Triple H Last Man Standing. And main evented by The Rock versus Name Redacted. Vengeance 2001, I don't really remember. I was phasing out at that time. Wiggly says it was interesting Punk and MJF taking pot shots at WWE. Then WWE fires back, working with Impact in a bigger way than AEW did. I mean, they've certainly made an impact. Justin says, surely Nikki Ash won't wear her ridiculous superhero gear as a heel. I think they can go obnoxious like they did when Sami Zayn first turned heel and make it work. Hector says, I feel like Scott D'Amore deserves a lot more credit than he's got for all he's done to make Impact a better product and get more eyes on the product. Well, this will certainly get more eyes, but Impact, given where they are in the landscape at the moment, they need this. Alyssa Stansbury, welcome. Says, I feel Liv Morgan's lost in the shuffle, being pushed into the background, and that she potentially is main eventing tonight. We'll see how it goes, but that may be in her future. And Wiggly says, Impact are like the cross-party politician, both sides wanting to butter up. And Dara says, I have a weird idea. Eric Young enters the men's Rumble. Don't think they'll go there personally. Steve said, you would be right with Fully Loaded 2000. 2001 was Jericho's first ever undisputed title. Vengeance, of course. Taker versus RVD. Fond memories of RVD's run. Very fond memories. We are out of questions. We have passed the hour, which means Tom Colohue wraps up. Please remember, we will not be doing a Raw watch party tonight. That will not be happening for the foreseeable. They will return for special events and when I have time off. But I'm getting promoted. I need to be more focused on work and stop playing Football Manager when I should be taking calls. Basically. So I'm going to say goodnight for now. Anyone who has not yet done so, please consider subscribing over on YouTube. Hit that like button as well. We have just reached 805 subscribers and we continue to grow exponentially. If you can, please do consider subscribing. And if you're watching on Twitch, which we've had many people doing so, please consider hitting that follow as well. Last few questions. Wiggly says, could Bray Wyatt return? No. Alyssa says, Liv Morgan deserves to be champion. And we'll see how that goes. Dara says, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Dara. Dan Rose said, could Roman win the Rumble if he loses his title of the Rumble? Yes, he's Roman Reigns. He can do whatever the hell he wants. And Sean says, I think RVD said he'd like to have one more run in the WWE. Don't think the WWE would want that. He is basically falling apart. Moxie says goodbye. Sean says, see you Friday. Wiggly's asking a question, but let's just ignore him completely. Thank you, everyone, for joining me, asking questions and making this show run. We would not have shows like this without you. We will be back on Friday for Spoiler Warning and the SmackDown Watch Party. In the meantime, thank you, everyone. I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic, and I'll see you all very soon.